Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday. I hope it's a beautiful day where you are. Thank you once again for joining our Be Relentless webinar series. We apologize for being a couple of minutes late. These Tuesday updates between Facebook and Zoom can delay us a little bit. It seems to happen every Tuesday, but we're glad to be here, glad you are with us. And yesterday we talked about building your sphere of influence during COVID. And today we're going to take a little bit of a closer look at your behaviors and what you can be doing in this time to set yourself up for success. We have Bob Bergs here from Leaders Edge Training with us today. Bob, thank you so much for being here. You're going to get us organized.
That's my goal. I'm really excited. And thank you so much for the invitation, Lee.
Well, we're glad to have you. I'll let you take it away. And I know that if people have questions, they know that they can type them in the Facebook chat box on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will ask them at the end. So thank you, Bob.
That's awesome. I look forward to your questions. And thanks again to Century 21 Canada and Lee for inviting me to share this presentation with you all today. I'm going to be talking about 3 disciplines for real estate professionals during COVID-19. As Lee said, my name is Bob Burns. I'm a real estate coach, trainer, and consultant with Leaders Edge Training based out of Barrie, Ontario. You can find me at bob@leadersedgetraining.com. You can get a rundown of everything we offer at Leaders Edge Training at leadersedgetraining.com. And if you decide after our 30 or 35 minutes or so together that you really like the sound of my voice and you want more of it in your life, you can listen to my weekly podcast called How They Won at howtheywon.com. In the podcast, I interview top real estate professionals from all over North America about what they're doing in their business to be successful. The topics are wide-ranging, but they're always practical. And like I said, if you love the sound of my voice, some say it sounds like Kermit the Frog swallowed a frog. If you like the sound of my voice, I'd love it if you would check out my podcast, How They Won. So without further ado, let's get started with the 3 disciplines for real estate pros during COVID-19. Here is discipline number 1. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. We as real estate professionals, and I truly believe this, over the course of my 20 plus years doing this, I've seen it time and time again, our communities, our families, and our companies look to us as leaders. They look for us to set the tone and to lead them to the place that they want to be. So in order to be an effective leader, in order to be relentless, you need to take care of yourself so that you are able to take care of those that you serve. Number 2, really, really important stuff, be informed, but not inflamed. The for-profit media industry does better if we stay inflamed and angry. So the trick to this is to have some self-awareness and to stay informed, stay up on what you're doing, what's going on in the world and what you need to do and how you can help and how you can contribute, but don't cross the line into getting inflamed. So I'll share some ideas with you on that as well. And then discipline number 3, put out into the world what you'd like to receive back. I'm going to share some thoughts from Mahatma Gandhi on how we can best do that, and also share some examples, some really practical examples that you could think about in your real estate business to come out on the other side of COVID-19 faster, stronger, more equipped to serve the needs of your customers. So those are our 3 disciplines. Let's start with the first one. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. If there was ever a leadership moment in life, right now is that moment. Right now is your leadership moment. Leaders lead. And what you're seeing on your screen right now is a picture from about 105 years ago, about 1914, 1915, on a piece of sea ice in the South Atlantic. And you're seeing a picture of the Ernest Shackleton party that was stranded for nearly 2 years before they were eventually rescued after a daring escape attempt in an open lifeboat across the stormy South Atlantic. Now, here's the story of Ernest Shackleton, I think is really, really apropos to where we are today as leaders in the real estate business, and I'll tell you why. Prior to 1914 or so, when the Shackleton party set sail for the South Pole, for Antarctica, Ernest Shackleton had made several attempts but failed to be the first person to reach the South Pole. That was his goal. That was his big, hairy, audacious goal, and he did everything he could, multiple attempts, and ultimately was not able to reach the South Pole first and plant the flag of Great Britain at the South Pole. Roald Amundsen of Norway beat him to it. So Shackleton stepped back, licked his wounds, and he came up with a new goal. His new goal was to not only get to the South Pole, but to be the first person to transverse coast to coast across Antarctica via the South Pole. So he set about to raising money, hiring crew, procuring supplies. He was able to get a couple ships, but then World War I broke out. This tells you a lot about Ernest Shackleton as a leader and as a communicator and as someone who is practiced in the art of persuasion. Even though World War I broke out, Shackleton was still able to convince the British government to give him a crew of 56, 2 ships, and all the supplies to sail south to Antarctica during World War I. So they set sail August 8th, 1914, sailed south, hit some ice January 18th of 1915, became stranded. Floated around on the ship, stranded in the sea ice until October of 1915, when they had to abandon ship because ice had pierced the hull of their ship. There they set up camp on an iceberg in the South Atlantic with no hope of rescue and no end in sight. They had to rescue themselves. They had to step up and figure this out for themselves because they did not anticipate being stuck in ice like they were. So they floated around on that sea ice until if you've heard about Shackleton, the only thing you've probably heard is the daring escape of the rescue party that escaped on April 8th, 1916. They sailed to a remote island, they hiked across some mountains, and they were able to finally get a rescue party to come down to the ice and rescue the rest of the crew August 30th of 1916. That is about 2 years and 1 month since they first set sail. And during those 2 years, 2+ years, not a single person in Shackleton's crew died. And I believe it was due almost entirely to Shackleton's leadership during that crisis. It was an open-ended crisis, no end in sight. And the way Shackleton got his crew through this was by implementing strict routines. Every day they woke up at the same time, they had breakfast at the same time, they went hunting, they entertained each other, they staged plays, they did dramatic readings, they told stories, they wrote poetry, they set a guard, they went hunting. They did all of these things according to a schedule, because the idea that Shackleton had as a leader that I think we can take advantage of now is if we're having a bad time and there's no end in sight, we don't know when we're going to get the green light to go back to work as we used to. All we have to worry about, if we have a good time-blocked routine, is not getting to the end of COVID-19, but just getting to the end of the current time block. If you wake up and you're having a bad day, just try to make it to the next thing on your schedule, and then to the next one, and then to the next one, and then to the next one. And before you know it, COVID-19 will be in the rearview mirror, and the sun will have risen on a post-COVID-19 real estate environment. It was the routine and the sense of community that got Shackleton's crew through that crisis 100+ years ago. So what can you do as a real estate professional to do this? Because again, your goal is to take care of yourself first so you can reach out and share what you've learned with those in your sphere. Well, one of the first things we did in my family, once this whole thing started, is we implemented a routine. My kids, I have 2 kids, ages 10 and 12, and my wife worked out of the home. I worked primarily from home, but mostly on the road as a speaker. My job is to go out and put people together in a room and teach them, train them something. I was out of business. Wife is home. Kids are home. It's on us to figure out how to school our kids, how to make sure we have meals and everything is getting taken care of. So we implemented a pretty specific and strict schedule. We laid out a week, just like you see on your screen here, Sunday through Saturday, 5 a.m. through 9 p.m. And we did a simple time blocking exercise. We blocked out when we would teach the kids, who would teach them, what the subjects were, when our lesson planning was, when we would cook, when we would eat, when I would work. And we basically have stuck through that schedule through this whole crisis of now 7 weeks, I think, 8 weeks we're going on this whole thing. Then what I did is I started to share that with the people that I coach. I'm a real estate coach, so I do one-on-one video meetings like this every week with my coaching clients. We shared this routine building exercise with them. They implemented it in their family. And then we started to reach out to others and shared this technique of taking care of ourselves, of controlling the predictable, so we can handle the unpredictable. It's gone a long way towards our health. And speaking of health, you got to be mindful of your health, your physical health especially. I'm not asking you to go on a crash diet or to try the Whole30 or anything kind of outside of the box. I just want you to be mindful of what you're putting into your body, again, so you can take care of yourself. You need to take care of yourself so the others that rely on you as a leader can count on you to be there for them. A little bit of exercise. I'm not asking you to go out and run a triathlon or to do a marathon or anything like that, but a little bit of physical activity every day and good eating is going to lead to good sleep health. Good sleep health is key to the mental health that you're going to need to carry the emotional burden of this crisis. You've got to realize that we all have been working through the 5 stages of grief over and over and over again throughout this crisis. As a reminder, the 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and finally acceptance. And I'm going to be totally honest with a bunch of strangers that I've never met before, but hope to meet someday. I've been all over the map on these stages of grief. I spend most of my time at stage 5, at the acceptance, feeling good and like I've got a plan and I'm moving forward and making progress, moving through my time block schedule, completing some goals. Most of the time I'm good, but every once in a while I'll wake up just really angry, or I'll wake up really sad, or I'll start making deals. If this can stop, I promise to do this, and this better. I find myself over and over again working through the 5 stages of grief. And what we have to recognize is if we're working through those 5 stages of grief and our mental health and emotional state is unpredictable, it's certainly unpredictable for the people that you're speaking to and trying to reach out to and trying to lift up during this time. So I'm going to share with you a simple psychological technique that can do wonders for your mental health. When you're not feeling right, it's just kind of foggy. You don't really know why. Sometimes I don't even know, am I angry? Am I sad? Am I tired? Am I just hungry? My advice to you is to step back, do a little bit of self-reflection, and name what you're feeling. This sounds so simple. It's something we all learned in grade 2, but name your feeling and write it down in a journal. I'm going to recommend journaling in a few minutes, but name your feeling, write it down in the journal. And if you're feeling angry, write down, I'm feeling angry. Then tomorrow when you wake up and you're no longer feeling angry, you're just feeling really kind of sad, well, you will have actually made progress on the 5 stages of grief, because depression is the next phase after the anger phase. So if you name your feelings, it's a way for you to get control over them. That's a simple psychological technique. And it will also give you an ability to feel like you're making forward progress on your mental health. Another simple exercise, and I recommend you keep a journal, is to practice gratitude. This happened in my house just last Thursday. I woke up kind of grumpy. I was no longer in that acceptance phase. I was somewhere between angry and sad. And we had just made breakfast and I was doing dishes after breakfast. And oh my gosh, dishes. My poor dishwasher is ready to scream. I'm sure yours is too. But anyway, I was doing dishes after breakfast and I just said casually to my wife, boy, wouldn't this be really hard if we didn't have running water? And then she said, yeah, and imagine if this was the middle of winter and it was cold and dark and gloomy all the time. And then I shared another gratitude. And then she shared another thing that she was grateful for. And before we knew it, we totally changed the course of the day. That was going to be kind of a negative, not so great day. By saying out loud what we were grateful for, we changed the entire trajectory of the day and we turned a bad day into ultimately a really, really good day. So practice gratitude and be intentional about what you're grateful for. That's going to go a long ways towards your mental health. The last thing I'll say on this is ask for help. When you need help, ask for help. Don't just drown silently off the coast. Raise your hand and ask for help. We as entrepreneurs, we as real estate professionals, we as small business owners have spent our entire careers and will spend the rest of our careers contributing financially to this social system of support. without ever hoping to get anything back out of it. We contribute because it's the right thing to do and for the greater good. But part of the reason we contribute is for moments like this. So my advice to you is to take advantage of any programs that are out there, any government programs, any unemployment programs, any small business loan forgiveness programs, anything that's out there, maybe mortgage payment relief. Don't be ashamed to take advantage. We're all going through this together. I don't believe there's any stigma at the moment to asking for help and receiving help. I would normally never do this. I am very much independent and have spent my whole life refusing offers of help because I thought it was on me to get through things on my own. But I'll fully admit that I've taken advantage of a few of the different programs that are out there to bridge the gap, to get my business across this chasm to the other side when we can go back to work and start earning a living and re-contribute like we always do as entrepreneurs and as real estate professionals, as we can recontribute back for the good of society. So ask for help. That's what it's there for. Another recommendation I have for you is to pick up this book. If you haven't read it, it's a really, really fantastic book. It's called The Miracle Morning. The author is Hal Elrod, and Hal Elrod lays out 6 things that we can do every day to ensure that every day is a great day. And I've been doing this for about 2.5 years now, and I'm going to tell you, it has done wonders for my mental health, for my physical health, and for my overall success in life and in business. And the first step of every morning when I wake up is silence. I spend a few minutes every morning just quieting my mind and doing a little bit of meditation. This just slows down the squirrels that are bouncing around in my head at all times and gives me a chance to really get clarity on what matters and what my thoughts are. After silence, I shift gears and go into affirmation mode. I know it feels kind of silly and goofy to say affirmations out loud. This stuff really works. I've been doing it for 20 years and it has made a difference. The third piece is my favorite, and that's visualization. If you visualize something before you actually go through it, when you go through it, it'll feel like it's the second time of going through it. So if you've got an important appointment coming up, or you've got a listing presentation, or you've got a Zoom meeting with an important client, my advice to you is to close your eyes and visualize exactly how that meeting's going to go in as great a detail as possible before you actually get there. What the weather's going to be like, what the sound of the Zoom ding dong is going to be when they jump on the call, or what the Skype ring is going to sound like, what your slides, if you're sharing them, are going to look like, what your lighting's going to look like, what they're going to say, what they're going to ask. Visualize in as much detail as possible what success looks like, feels like, smells like, tastes like, and that's going to make it real for your brain. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a strong visualization and reality. So when the real moment comes, it'll be your brain's second time through the exercise. Really, really powerful stuff, visualization. The fourth item to do every day is a little bit of exercise. Just to get your heart rate going. It'll get your hormones going. It'll get your blood flowing, and it'll get your body in shape for what's to come. Little bit of reading. And scribing is a big one. We are living through unprecedented times right now. Hopefully, I'm knocking wood, hopefully we never live through such a thing as this again. This is a good opportunity to document what you're going through, how you're doing, what's happening in the world. Keep a journal. And even if your journal is just for gratitudes and documenting how you feel, keep a journal. It will really, really strengthen your mental health through this whole thing. The last bit of this, now that we've spent all this time working on ourselves, taking care of ourselves, now it's time to reach out and take care of others. This is kind of goofy, and the movie didn't age well, but what you're seeing on your screen is a screenshot from the movie White Men Can't Jump back from the early 1990s. And I'll tell you more about why I thought of that movie in a moment. But now is the time that you've gotten your physical and mental health where you need it to be. Now's the time to pass that along, to reach out and invest in your relationships. It's not about closing or setting or selling anybody anything right now, or even having solutions. It's just about being there and listening, connecting with people. People are answering the phone right now. In the past, when I used to make my calls, I used to get a lot of voicemail. These days, people pick up the phone and their guard is down. They know I can't sell them anything, and I know that I can't sell them anything. So what tends to happen is people pick up the phone, the guard is down, and we've been making really, really great human connections with people, asking how they feel, what they're doing to get through this, what they're learning, and you're sharing what you're learning. You can really, really connect with people right now. And you bet your bottom dollar that as soon as the sun rises on that post-COVID-19 real estate market, that those investments, those that you made in relationships, those investments are going to pay dividends in your business. Those people are going to, that you called and you asked and you connected with, those people are going to think of you when it's time to place a referral, or when it's time to downsize, or when it's time to upsize, or when it's time to move to the next town over, or when they get promoted, or when they get a new job, or whatever happens, they're going to think of you and reach out to you. Now, where White Men Can't Jump comes into this with Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson, and Rosie Perez back from the early 1990s. I watched it again, by the way. It doesn't age very well. Where White Men Can't Jump comes into this whole equation is I was doing a webinar like this a few weeks ago for a company down in Louisiana. And one of the agents that was attending typed in the chat, well, Bob, you're telling me to reach out to people, but I'm afraid of what I'm going to hear. When I call somebody and ask them how they're doing, there's probably not going to be very much good news. They're going to tell me that someone they love is sick, or they're going to share with me that they just lost their job, or something terrible has happened in their life. What am I supposed to say to that? Isn't that a negative, not a positive? I don't have any solutions. I can't help them get back to work. I can't cure COVID-19. And my answer is, you don't have to. We're used to being the people with answers, the people that people call with solutions. We don't need to have the solutions right now. We just need to be there for them and show empathy. So there's a scene in White Men Can't Jump. Woody Harrelson and Rosie Perez are dating, and they're getting ready for bed, and Rosie Perez turns to Woody Harrelson and she says, "Honey, I'm thirsty." So without saying a word, Woody Harrelson walks to the kitchen, gets a glass of water, brings it back, hands it to Rosie Perez. Now, if you know Rosie Perez, Rosie's furious. I believe she even dumped the glass of water back on Woody Harrelson and said, "I didn't say that I was thirsty because I wanted you to solve my problem, because I wanted you to get me a drink of water. I told you I was thirsty because I wanted you to say, yes, honey, I too have been thirsty and know what it feels like to be thirsty. I just wanted you to show some empathy." Now is your empathy moment. You don't need to have solutions for people. You just need to be there and care. And that being there and that caring is what's going to cause people to think of you when we get a green light again to operate our real estate careers. So think of White Men Can't Jump from the early 1990s to just be there for people and reach out so you can help them get through this. So take care of yourself so you can take care of others. Discipline number 2, let's move on, is be informed, not be inflamed. What I mean by that is be careful about the news that you consume. Be sure that you're obtaining your news from neutral, reputable sources, sources without an agenda, sources that don't have a financial interest in keeping you scared or angry or inflamed, sources like the WHO or the CDC, neutral sources without an agenda. Also, I mean, this is nearly impossible to totally cut it out of your life, but my advice to you is limit the amount of opinion or editorial content that you take in. I woke up the other morning, and this is an old routine that I'm trying to kill off. I usually wake up in the morning, and as I have my coffee, I watch one of the cable news networks. And I did the same thing the other day. I turned on the cable news network, and there was about, 60 seconds, maybe 120 seconds of news, whatever had happened, what the new infection numbers were, or what the new social safety net initiatives were. But then there was proceeded to be, who knows how long it went on. I turned it off after about 10 minutes, just a series of talking heads speculating about what could happen here and what might happen if that happens, and who's got alternative interests in mind. And it was just winding me up. I felt myself getting angry and scared and upset. And I took a breath, I stepped back, and I just turned off the television. I was already informed, and I was becoming inflamed. Really, really important. Just be informed. The third part of this discipline is don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. That means fact check before you post something on social media. Before you put something out there, just make sure that it's actually true. Don't be part of the problem. And I thought that this comic strip from xkcd.com, it's a great web comic. If you're familiar with it, go to xkcd.com. They post a new comic strip every day. They graphed out more healthy versus more common worries during coronavirus. So a less common but more healthy worry is for us to worry about whether we're remembering to drink enough water and get enough rest. So that would be really healthy to do right now. A more common but less healthy thing to worry about is to worry whether we have the virus because we coughed and last week we might have touched a doorknob. Not very healthy to spend your time there. So think about being informed, not be inflamed. And I'm going to share with you a quote from one of my favorite ancient Greek philosophers. Yes, I'm that nerdy to have favorite ancient Greek philosophers. This is from Epictetus. Epictetus is known as the founder of Stoicism. Stoicism is a philosophy that has been really in place for the last 2,500 years. Marcus Aurelius and several other Roman emperors followed this philosophy. There's a whole modern Stoicism movement right now that's happening. What Epictetus said about being informed, not inflamed, is this. He said, some things are in our control and others are not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command, and in one word, things, whatever are not our actions. This is the important part of the quote. The things in our control are by nature free, unrestrained, unhindered, and unrestricted. But those not in our control are weak, slavish, restrained, and belonging to others. So control what you can, invest your limited time and effort into things that you can actually affect, and leave the rest for someone else to worry about it that can have control over. That's what be informed, not inflamed is all about. Don't be upset over things you can't control. Discipline number 3 is actually an apocryphal quote that I started with from Mahatma Gandhi. I thought Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. In fact, it's stenciled on huge letters in my kids' middle school library. It says, be the change you wish to see in the world. And in doing some research for this webinar, I learned Gandhi never actually said that. What Gandhi actually said was this. It's a little more complicated and a little more nuanced, like always. Gandhi says, we but mirror the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. This is the divine mystery supreme. A wonderful thing it is, and the source of our happiness. We need not wait to see what others do. Now, to me, this is incredibly powerful. What this means to me is we have an opportunity right now to make change, to affect change in our lives, to affect change under things that are in our control. If there was ever a moment to reinvent yourself and your real estate business, right now is that moment. COVID-19 has provided the excuse, for lack of a better term, for us to try some stuff, to experiment, to do some crazy things, to think of crazy ideas, to implement things that we've always dreamed of doing. If you've ever wanted to form a team in your real estate business, for example, now is the time to do it. If you ever wanted to downsize your team back to an individual practitioner, now's the time to do it. If you ever wanted to try a new CRM or implement a new website or try a new follow-up campaign or experiment with going live on Facebook or try some geographic farming techniques or call expireds or call for sale by owners, now is the time to try it, because I believe we all have a license to experiment. We all have a license to do goofy things. And hey, if it goes wrong, we can just blame, I just got COVID crazy, no big deal. But if it goes right, imagine how different your business can look on the other side of this. Now is the time. We'll never have this opportunity to spend so much time focusing on our business instead of in our business. So I'd encourage you to think about and to dream about what your business will look like in a post-COVID-19 real estate world. It's coming. It's going to be here before too much longer, and I would encourage you not to waste this opportunity. If you want to get in touch with me, you can find me at bob@leadersedgetraining.com or leadersedgetraining.com. Again, if you love the sound of my voice, you can listen to my podcast. It's called How They Won. You can find it at howtheywon.com. And I want to once again thank Century 21 Canada, Lee, and Todd Shayak, and everybody in the leadership for inviting me to speak with you all today. I hope you found something useful and valuable in those 3 disciplines for real estate professionals during COVID-19. Take care of yourself, be well, and we'll see you in person real soon.
Bob, thank you so much. We've had good feedback, people saying today is check-in day. A lot of people appreciated the history lesson as well. So if you have questions for Bob, please write them in the right-hand side of your screen. I know that we had probably a couple of handfuls of you with audio issues, but we had lots of other people saying that it was coming through clearly. Please know that it has been clear on our end, and the recording has been clear as well. So if there were parts that you missed, you can easily go back and rewatch this. It will be clear in the recording. So the site that you just mentioned, which is it, Bob?
LeadersEdgeTraining.com.
LeadersEdgeTraining.com. Thank you very much.
It might have been HowTheyWon.com. Either or. Okay. How They Won is the podcast. Leaders Edge Training is where you go for coaching or training information.
And when is your podcast? How often do you record it? What day of the week?
A new episodes come out every Monday. And lately I've been focusing on COVID-19. I've been interviewing lenders, financial services providers. A couple weeks ago, I interviewed an expert. This is more for the U.S., but an expert in the CARES Act for all of the PPP loans and so forth. Other times I've interviewed top producers about what they do in their real estate business to succeed. It's very much action oriented. It's all the stuff I wish I would have known when I started my real estate business 20 years ago.
All right. I also really like the White Men Can't Jump reference and saying you just need to check in with people. They just need someone to talk to. You don't have to solve their problem. So Bob, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And everyone, you can see Bob's contact information in the slides as well. We are back here tomorrow. Our topic tomorrow is handling objections you've never heard before. So Catherine Carr from Century 21 will be there, talk about things that they're hearing right now and what to do when you hear those. So that will be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We look forward to seeing you then. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thanks, Bob. Bye-bye, everyone.